A new mission for the USS Constitution. Chapter 7.
It was 0300 when Commander Kiter called.
Captain, we have a blockade of 10 ships at 2,000 kilometers. Unknown configuration.
David sprang out of bed. Commander, red alert. All hands on deck, battle stations. Commander Sims to the sensor lab. Escort crew to the escort lab. Load all torpedo tubes. UL-5. I'm on my way. David raced to the lift and ordered, bridge. Stepping out of the lift, David said, Mr. Kiter, show me. On screen were 10 ships the crew of the Constitution had never seen before. Lieutenant Zappelli, hail those ships. A moment later, Mark replied.
Sir, someone has answered your call.
David replied, on screen. There on screen was a creature not unlike a dragon, in a high-pitched hissing voice.
Captain, surrender.
David replied, I will never surrender. Prepare for battle or stand down. You have 5 minutes. Next, David called the escort lab. How many ships can you give me? Carol replied.
A dozen, sir.
David answered, good, stand by. Then David called the sensor lab. Dale, talk to me. Dale responded.
They seem to be what we see. They are composed of a titanium alloy, lightweight, strong, and able to survive a laser blast. They have a complex weapons array, UL-able engines, and a full crew of about 200. Yet, the life signs are none that we have ever encountered.
The dragon on the screen demanded.
You have a man in prison on your ship. Hand him over to us. You have 5 of your minutes.
So David called, security, Tasha, bring the prisoner to the bridge in irons. Arms, and legs. The reply came.
Aye, sir.
Curiously, a smile in the chief's voice. When the prisoner arrived on the bridge, David said to the view screen, is this the man you are looking for? The dragon replied.
Yes.
And David said, and for what reason do you want this? Disdain in his voice and on his vestige, person. The dragon replied.
This one has started a war among my people. He is responsible for the deaths of millions. We want him to stand a public trial, and then when found guilty, we want him publicly executed.
David replied, I would hand him over to you, but he has murders to be tried for in our society. I'll give you information about how you may apply for extradition after his trial on our world. Then there was a long silence.
Captain, may we have representatives to observe?
David looked at Admiral Sims. What do you think, Admiral? She replied.
It seems as if our objectives are mutual.
Then she turned to the view screen.
Who am I addressing?
The dragon on the screen replied.
I am Admiral Yellowtooth. I am commanding this fleet.
She replied.
Admiral, if your fleet would escort us to our home sector, we will allow 2 representatives to accompany our party to our Hall of Justice.
Admiral Yellowtooth replied.
Agreed. We will accompany you to your sector, then my mate and I will attend your Hall of Justice.
David directed Tasha to return the prisoner to the brig. Admiral Sims contacted Admiral Maravich and informed him of the situation and her decision to allow Admiral Yellowtooth and his mate to observe the trial of Carter's murderer. She also set the Admiral the prisoner's fingerprints, DNA, and mugshot. One looked and the Admiral said,
Maximilian Sargan, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Finance Officer, and President of the United Weapons Conglomerate. USS is responsible for murdering Carter.
David replied, we have Carter's mate, Sheila, and she will testify that Sargon forced her to watch him murder Carter. Admiral Maravich said,
Susan, I approve. However, you must not bring the whole fleet to Sector 00.
She replied.
Understood, sir.
Then she told Admiral Yellowtooth of Admiral Maravich's orders. And he agreed to send his fleet home. In a moment, 9 of the Admiral's fleet departed. The Constitution and the Admiral's ship continued to Sector 00. David asked for ship-wide, now hear this is the captain. All personnel, stand down, yellow alert status as of now. Captain out. By this time, the day crew arrived on the bridge. Larry, you have the con. Commander Kiter, please brief Commander Sorensen. I'm going to sleep for a while. Call me in case of anything exciting. It would take 3 days to reach Sector 00 because of the limitations of Admiral Yellowtooth's ship. Admiral Yellowtooth's ship, David was informed, was, translated, the Confederation. It was about 1300 hours when Commander Sims' voice came over the comm.
Captain, we have 6 Krill battlecruisers dead ahead about 2,000 kilometers. Sensors indicate they are actual battlecruisers, sir.
All hands, battle stations, red alert, this is not a drill. Escort team to the Halo Lab. Admiral Sims to the bridge, please. David ordered, Tall, hail those ships, include Admiral Yellowtooth. After about 10 minutes, there was a response.
Captain Stevens, this is Commander Shrill. This is a peaceful fleet meant to see you safely to your home world.
Immediately they heard the voice of Admiral Yellowtooth.
This is Admiral Yellowtooth of the Flying Imperial Navy. I am escorting Captain Stevens' ship. Your assistance is appreciated but unnecessary.
Commander Shrill responded.
Captain Stevens has as his prisoner a human who has murdered thousands of Krill. We ask one ship to join your escort in the name of justice.
David spoke, Admiral, Commander, in the name of justice, unity, and friendship, I welcome one Krill ship. We have 20 hours before we reach my home planet. Let's make our trip as peaceful as we can. Commander, we are traveling at UL-9. Are you capable of that speed? The commander replied.
We are capable.
After a moment, all but one Krill battlecruiser left the area. Admiral Sims smiled at David.
I'll inform Admiral Maravich.
David ordered, Tall, ship wide, please. This is the captain, all hands, stand down, yellow alert status. During her talk with Admiral Maravich, Admiral Sims told him about the Flying and the Krill's grievances against Maximilian Sargon. The Admiral replied that he would push for a trial as soon as possible. As the 3 ships began to push on, the USS Enterprise and the USS John Paul Jones appeared. Captain Perry's voice came over the comm.
David, we've been assigned to be an escort to Earth for you and our new friends.
David replied, Welcome aboard, George. The more, the merrier. 20 hours later, the ships arrived to orbit Earth, and Mr. Sargon was teleported to Naval Security. Admirals Yellowtooth, Sims, Keeler, Commander Shrill, and Ambassador Stein teleported to Admiral Maravich's office. In the office, Admiral Maravich told his visitors that the trial of Mr. Sargon would be conducted in about 2 years. Admiral Yellowtooth and Commander Shrill shouted,
This is unacceptable. You must try him now, or by. There will be war. Or you must allow me to extradite him to face justice in my empire.
Continued Admiral Yellowtooth, angrily. Commander Shrill stood nodding his head, mandibles gnashing aggressively.
Yes. He must face our justice.
Agreed Commander Shrill.
And we will not wait 2 years. We will wait 50 of your hours. And then we will go to our governments and begin to prepare for a fight to execute justice on the person, Sargon.
You gentle creatures must know that such a fight will take far more lives just because such a battle has no winners. Only in friendship do all become winners.
Admiral Sims thought,
Such wisdom from a politician, I guess that's why he is an admiral.
while smiling at Admiral Maravich. About that time, Admiral Halloran stepped into the office.
Mr. Sargon has apparently taken his own life, and we will set up a viewing to help allay any doubts you may have.
About that time, a naval security officer knocked and entered.
Admiral, I have Mr. Sargon's suicide note. Do you want it?
Yes, I do.
Admiral Sims took the note and handed it to Admiral Maravich. The Chief of Naval Operations began to read aloud.
I, Maximilian Sargon, freely admit the following. I initiated the conflicts among the Flying and the Krill. I also tortured and killed the Krill negotiator, Carter, and terrorized USS mate. I make no excuses and give no reason. I pray that the universe will have mercy on my soul. Maximilian Sargon. I will notify the United Weapons Conglomerate. And I shall direct that the United System never consider purchasing anything from TRM again.
Everyone in the office nodded approval at hearing Admiral Maravich's words. Admiral Sims returned to the Constitution and went to the cabin of Sheila, the Krill negotiator and mate of the murdered Carter. She explained what had happened with Mr. Sargon, and Sheila began to cry and rage that his cowardly way out was too easy for him. But Susan wrapped her arms around her and murmured comforting words until she was calm.
We have a copy of your treaty in the Krill language. Would you still consider presenting it to your government?
Asked Admiral Sims. Sheila nodded her head and caressed Susan's hand with her foreleg. Susan asked about the significance of the caressing of her hand. Sheila explained that it was a sign of affection to someone who cared for one or hoped for affection. Susan reached out and caressed the foreleg appendage of the Krill negotiator and smiled.
I'm so very glad to have met you, Sheila. May we always be friends.
That is my desire as well, friend Susan.
Sheila responded. Over to calm came the voice of Captain Stevens. Now hear this. This is the captain. Prepare to be underway. Our mission is to return the Krill negotiator to her home world. I might add, in one piece. That is all.
Will you be all right?
Susan asked. Sheila began to cry again.
I'll never be alright again. Carter was my love and my life.
Susan touched her hand and asked her to accompany her to the bridge. On the bridge, the captain gave her the chair generally reserved for a VIP. Susan asked whether Stella could join her and Sheila for a quiet lunch, and David nodded okay. So the three left the bridge to lunch together. Hank, plot a course to the Krill home world, ordered David. Then, turning to the ensign at the helm, UL-12, please, ensign. She replied.
Aye, aye, sir.
David sat in the center chair and sighed. 6 days. Oh, well. We'll get there. 3 days in, and everything was running smoothly. Larry turned to the captain.
Sir, this is unusual. Things are too quiet. It's like waiting for the second boot to fall.
Well, Larry, relax and enjoy it while you can. History has shown us that this is exactly when something unpleasant will happen. Then David laughed. Then the voice of Commander Sims broke the mood.
Captain, sensors indicate a Krill battle cruiser ahead, but it seems lifeless.
Helm, approach SL-25. Halt at 100 meters. Yellow alert. Ordered the captain. Then, Admiral Sims to the bridge please. And bring Sheila also. Admiral Sims and Sheila stepped onto the bridge.
Captain, what is it?
We have what seems to be a derelict Krill battle cruiser dead ahead. Replied David, turning to Sheila, what can you tell us about that ship? She replied.
That is the Squiddo Squeaker Squeakum. I'm sorry, Captain, that will not translate into your language.
Tal. David turned to his communications officer, hail that ship. Tal's fingers flew across his keyboard.
No response, sir.
Sensor lab. Dale, what can you tell me about that ship? Asked the captain. Dale responded.
No motion, energy usage, life, or atmosphere.
David turned to his first officer. Number 1, take a team over there and investigate. You have an hour. Larry smiled a huge grin.
Aye, aye, sir.
Larry assembled his team and teleported to the battle cruiser. Upon arrival, the team noted a strange phosphorescent light emanating from every object, bulkhead, deck, and ceiling. Larry immediately called back to the ship.
Captain, ask Sheila about any phosphorescent light that the Krill might use.
She replied.
We do not use phosphorescent light. We use what your people call LED light.
Suddenly, a member of Larry's team shouted.
This stuff is radioactive, sir. We need to get the hell off this death trap.
Larry reacted.
Constitution, teleport us back, now! We'll need a decontamination unit when we get back.
Larry and his team went through decontamination and immediately fell ill. Dr. Mtau immediately isolated the team and began treatment. Dr. Mtau called David.
Captain, we must get these people to a naval base fast if we want to save their lives.
Hank, to Earth, Helm, UL-16, on my mark. Weapons, destroy that ship, torpedoes, full spread, fire. Helm, go. Everyone on the bridge was stunned. Sheila gasped.
Captain, why?
My people are dying because of that thing. I can't leave such a death trap for others to find, was David's reply. She bowed her head.
I understand.
With that, she left the bridge. The USS Constitution sped through the darkness of UL speed, destination Earth.